What's going on, my friends? Hopefully everyone is having a great weekend. For today's episode, we are revisiting the Casio Lineage LCWM300 because I am doing a giveaway, and actually the results of the giveaway are going to be in this episode. So, you know, if you don't really care about the review and you just want to know who won, go ahead and skip ahead. I'm sure I'll put this timestamp here in future editing. But I figured if we're doing a giveaway, you know, might as well do an updated review because I have owned this watch for around 2 years now. Time really does go by fast, and I wanted to share my updated thoughts. Spoiler alert, my thoughts really haven't changed. I absolutely loved it when I first bought it, and I still think it's a fantastic watch today. I'm actually kind of regretting putting it up for a giveaway because now that I've been handling again, I'm, remembering just how much I loved this watch and how much joy it brought me. But oh well, life moves on, and I'll get new watches in my collection every month or every week. So I guess the focus now is to just spread the joy. And before we get into the review, quick wristwatch check. I am rocking my Marathon G-SAR. I'm having a blast with this watch. I actually took it out on a hiking excursion today to get some B-roll and also just to test it out, and it performed phenomenally. So review to come in the future, but forget about the Marathon for now. Without further ado, let's talk about the Casio Lineage. Starting off with my favorite talking point, price. You can find this for around $150. That's how much I paid for it 2 years ago, and that's about how much you can buy it for today. But I think it's discontinued. So in my mind, that means the price is only gonna go up. So if you are interested in it, I recommend getting it sooner than later while it is still budget friendly. Looking at those dimensions, the case diameter is 42.9 millimeters. That's measuring from the outer edge of 9 to the outer edge of 3 o'clock. Height is 11.6 millimeters. Lug to lug is 46.6 millimeters. Lug width is 20 millimeters. And for weight, you're looking at 122 grams or 4.3 ounces. And that's size for my wrist. So it's probably going to be a little bit lighter for you because you're going to have to remove some more links. So with this specific Lineage, what you're getting is the module 5110. That's going to give you solar and atomic timekeeping. For the atomic timekeeping, this watch is going to update to atomic time up to 6 times per day. If a signal is successfully received, then it will cancel all remaining attempts for that day. But even without a signal reception, the LCWM300 is accurate up to plus or minus 15 seconds per month, which is still going to be more accurate than even your best automatic watch in your collection. For the solar charging, a well-maintained LCW will last you well over 15 years. But with that being said, if for whatever reason it just never gets any sun, this watch will go from a full charge to dead in approximately 6 months. And even with that 6-month lifespan, that's assuming that you are going to be using some of the functions once per day, such as the backlight and the alarm and the antenna. So if you don't use those once per day, which most of us don't, that 6-month time period will be extended. Now let's take a look at the watch. We've got a 60-minute chaptering. And then within that chaptering, you've got applied indices, which also have lume, and you've got lume on the hands as well. To the left-hand side, you can see a mode status dial. Whatever the hand on this dial points to will correlate with the information displayed on the upper and lower digital displays. And then all of this is inside a stainless steel case, and the pushers are stainless steel as well, which is fantastic. Underneath this, you've got a case back. It's not a screw-down case back, but it is held to the case by 4 Phillips head screws. And then coming back to the top, let's take a look at those functions real quick. So we've got world time. You've also got stopwatch, and that measures up to 24 hours. You've got the timer, which will count down from 60 minutes, and then alarm. So you've got 4 alarms, 1 snooze, and 1 hourly signal. And then if you're wondering what those other symbols mean on that mode status dial, you've got your charge level, high, medium, low, and then charge, which means that the battery is super low and you need to charge it right away. And then next to that, you've got power save mode. And then next to that, you've got W and R. So what those mean is if you were to manually receive an atomic signal, the R would say that it is getting ready to receive it, and the W means working, means that it is actively trying to get the atomic signal. And all of these functions and features are inside a case that provides 50 meters of water resistance. So ideal for swimming, but definitely not for diving, or at least I wouldn't recommend it. I want to revisit the Lumshot here and just kind of admire it and give it its credit. Normally Casio watches have horrible lume, and that's just because that's not really their strong point. Casio and G-Shock, they're more of a digital watch company. And you know, talk to anybody with a Casio analog watch, most of the time their lume is pretty horrendous. But in this case, the LCW or the Lineage has really good lume, like very surprisingly so. I want to say it's Neo Bright or whatever the proprietary lume from Casio is, but I mean, let me tell you, it's bright. Not super luminova bright, but way better than Duro or any other analog Casio watch that you've experienced. And the reason why this makes me so happy is because you're not sacrificing anything here. You don't have a good backlight, but then a crappy lume, or good lume and a crappy backlight. You get the best of both worlds here. You've got a pretty solid LED backlight. You know, it's not the best, but it definitely tells you the information that you need when you need it. And then also you've got great redundancy with fantastic lume. And so at this price range, you cannot complain about that. The dial is also another area where the M300 shines. You might think that a Ana-Digi watch with 2 digital displays and a mode sub-dial might look too cluttered and busy, but personally I think they did a fantastic job here. Even with a relatively small diameter in relation to other G-Shocks or Ana-Digi G-Shocks, they jam-packed everything in here without it looking too cramped. I think the font size from the Casio logo to the mode sub-dial are small enough to where they all fit perfectly, but also contrast clearly enough with the background to where it's easily visible. And speaking about the background, the sunburst reflective gray background with the horizontal pinstripes looks so classy. When you're talking about a case shape that is more synonymous with a field watch, but then a dial design that looks more comfortable in an office setting, what you're getting is a very flexible watch that can look good in several different environments. But it's really more than just a pretty face. If we look outside of the case and you look at those pushers, you've got stainless steel pushers that are fantastic. They operate well, they're easy to press, but they're also all metal. So you don't get any kind of half-assed attempt to cheap out on materials here. The bracelet is also done exceptionally well, considering the price. Yeah, you're gonna get hollow end links, but for the rest of the links, you're getting a pin and collar adjustment system. It's sort of a pain in the ass to adjust, but once you know how pin and collar systems work, it's actually my preferred way because it's just more reliable and longer lasting. The links have a mixture of polished and brushed steel, indicative of more time and energy spent on the manufacturing process here. And while you are getting a stamped steel clasp or deployant clasp, I'm starting to appreciate that more and more. And I don't think this was a means to cheap out. I just think it's a easy, maintenance-free clasp system, and it just feels of quality. You know, nothing about the bracelet feels cheap. And just as the bracelet is polished and brushed, you know, so is the case as well. And what that gives you is a case that reflects light beautifully. You've got all of the tool-like qualities of brushed steel, but the more elegant and beautiful sheen that you would get from a chrome polished finish, but not so much so that it's kind of tacky. I think it's just enough to give the watch just enough reflection in the sunlight to really make it pop. So as you can tell, I clearly dislike this watch. But in all reality, it's a fantastic watch and almost understandable why it's no longer manufactured, because there's just too much value here. You are getting way too much for $150. If I had to think of one thing to change on this watch, I guess it would be water resistance, you know, increasing it to 100 meters, but it's really not a big deal. Like, I'm not a diver, so for me personally, the fact that it is a lower water resistance is not something that I'm going to like be just aware of constantly. And as I mentioned earlier, how I think this watch can fit in an office environment, but also out in the field. You know, this watch really does kind of look like a Hamilton field watch with a digital display on it. I mean, in my opinion, this really just looks like Hamilton and G-Shock had a baby and this was their spawn. At this price, it really is difficult to get much better than the Casio Lineage, or at least specifically the M300. So if you've got this on your wish list or you've been thinking about it, I say get it, because I can reasonably predict that the price is only gonna go up. I'm very much gonna regret giving this watch away, but it's just time to move on and pass on that joy to somebody else. But that's pretty much all I gotta say. You know, all in all, a fantastic watch. I've enjoyed my time with it immensely. And there's a high likelihood that if another one comes my way in the future, I'll probably pick up another one. So that concludes my thoughts on the Lineage. I hope you enjoyed this review. I have a blast making them. And so without further ado, let's go straight into the giveaway drawing. For those of you that entered, I wish all of you the best of luck. And to the winner, I know that you are absolutely gonna have a great time with the Casio Lineage. My only request is that you don't sell it. Please keep it, and you know, if you don't like it or it's time to move on, just pass it on to someone else as a gift. So with that being said, thanks so much for watching, and let's get straight into this giveaway. All right guys, bye.